The night air cut sharply through the quiet bus stop, streetlights flickering as rain misted the empty road. He stood there after a long shift, shoulders tired, hands shoved into thin pockets. That's when he noticed her, a woman trembling slightly, arms wrapped around herself, coatless and pale from the cold, eyes fixed on the road as if waiting for something more than a bus. He hesitated. He didn't know her, didn't have much himself, and the jacket he wore was his only real protection from the night. Still, something about the way she shivered made him step closer. Without thinking too long, he shrugged off his jacket and gently offered it, his voice low, almost apologetic. She looked up, startled, as if kindness from a stranger wasn't something she expected. For a moment, she studied his face, perhaps searching for an ulterior motive. Seeing none, she slowly accepted the jacket, her fingers brushing the worn fabric, eyes softening with surprise and gratitude. "Thank you," she said quietly, wrapping it around herself. He nodded, embarrassed, suddenly aware of the cold biting into his arms. They stood in silence, the kind that feels heavy but not uncomfortable, broken only by distant traffic and the hum of the city settling for the night. The bus was late, minutes stretched on, and conversation slowly found its way between them. She asked about his work, he spoke honestly about long hours and modest pay. He didn't complain, just stated facts, as if this was the life he had accepted without bitterness. She listened closely, more than most people ever did. When she spoke about herself, she kept it vague: business trips, responsibilities, constant pressure. Nothing about wealth, power, or titles. To him, she was simply another tired soul caught in the cold, waiting for a ride home. A strong gust of wind swept through the stop, making him shiver. She noticed immediately and tried to hand the jacket back. He refused with a small smile, saying he'd be fine, that the bus would arrive soon anyway. She hesitated, then held it tighter, clearly moved. When the bus finally arrived, its headlights cutting through the darkness, they both felt an unexpected sense of reluctance. She boarded first, then turned back, meeting his eyes. "I hope kindness finds its way back to you," she said, her words sincere, almost weighted with meaning. He smiled, waved, and watched as the bus disappeared down the road. Only then did the cold fully settle in. He hugged himself, wondering briefly why such a small moment felt unusually important, then dismissed the thought and began the long walk home. The next morning, life continued as usual: crowded trains, ringing phones, relentless tasks. At his workplace, an announcement spread quickly: a high-level executive would be visiting unexpectedly. The tension in the air was thick as everyone prepared for inspection and possible restructuring. He paid little attention, focused on his duties. When the doors opened and the visiting executive stepped in, the room fell silent. His heart skipped, not from fear, but recognition. It was her, the woman from the bus stop. Except now, she stood confident, impeccably dressed, authority evident in every step. She scanned the room, eyes sharp, until they landed on him. For just a second, her professional expression softened. No one else noticed, but he did. His mind raced, replaying the night before, wondering if he'd imagined the whole thing. The meeting began, her voice calm and commanding. She spoke about values, leadership, and culture, emphasizing integrity over numbers. Every word felt intentional, as if shaped by experience rather than theory. He listened more closely than ever, feeling strangely connected to her message. After the meeting, she requested to speak with him privately. Anxiety washed over him as coworkers whispered. In her office, she thanked him again, for the jacket, but more importantly, for the instinctive kindness that came without expectation or recognition. She explained who she was, her position, the pressures she lived under daily. That night, she said, she had needed to feel human again, not powerful. His simple gesture had reminded her of something she feared she was losing. He tried to downplay it, saying anyone would have done the same. She shook her head gently. "Not everyone does," she replied, "especially when they have so little to give." Her words weren't pitying, but respectful, almost admiring. She asked about his ambitions, not his resume. About his character, not his credentials. He answered honestly, admitting his doubts and quiet hopes. For the first time, he felt seen, not as a role or a number, but as a person. Days later, changes began. Policies shifted, opportunities opened, and unexpectedly, he was offered a position that matched his potential rather than his past. It wasn't charity, it was trust, built on a moment of uncalculated kindness. Their paths crossed occasionally after that, always professional, yet marked by an unspoken understanding. The jacket was returned, cleaned and neatly folded, along with a note that read, "Never stop being who you were that night." He kept the note longer than the jacket. Whenever work felt overwhelming, he remembered the bus stop, the cold, the silence, the choice he made without knowing it would matter. It grounded him more than any promotion ever could. She, too, changed. In boardrooms and negotiations, she carried that memory with her, a reminder that leadership without compassion is hollow. She began seeking people like him, not the loudest, but the kindest, often overlooked yet deeply essential. Months passed, and the city moved on, unaware of how two lives had quietly shifted course. No headlines marked the moment. No applause followed it, just a jacket, a bus stop, and a decision made from the heart. One evening, as winter returned, he found himself at the same bus stop. This time, he brought an extra coat. When he saw someone else shivering in the cold, he didn't hesitate. He simply stepped forward, because kindness, he learned, isn't about who deserves it or what it returns. It's about recognizing another human in a moment of need and choosing warmth over indifference, even when the world encourages you to look away. Somewhere else in the city, she stood before another crowd, speaking about empathy as a strategic strength. Few understood how personal those words were. Fewer still knew they were born on a cold night beside an empty road. Neither of them ever told the full story. They didn't need to. The impact lived on in quiet decisions, fair chances, and small acts repeated without expectation of reward. What began as a simple offer became a turning point, proving that you never truly know who stands before you, or how far a moment of compassion can travel once released into the world. And so, at an ordinary bus stop, under indifferent streetlights, kindness revealed its quiet power, changing lives not through grand gestures, but through a single jacket, given freely, on a cold and forgettable night.